Hey everyone, welcome back to Themis and Thought. Grab your coffee, water, tea, whatever you're drinking, go and get that. As you can see, I'm here with AJM. Uh, hey AJM. So, how are you?
I'm really good. Um, relatively, I'm doing really good comparatively, but yes, yeah, I'm doing good.
So, um, Akiba did not show up. I think she sent me an email that she won't be able to make it. So she is unfortunately going to be eliminated and you will be moving on. But to have some kind of show, we're going to have you. Uh, Explain your position, kind of do your intro, even though you're gonna automatically move forward. Um, and then we're gonna come back and we're gonna discuss because you are on the side, if I remember correctly, and you just said that marriage is helpful and beneficial to Black women.
Yes.
All right, cool. So let me exit, and then you can do what would have been your intro, and then we'll just have a discussion.
Hey everyone. So I'm just gonna keep this kind of light since she's not here. I was gonna do more like a hard hitting thing, but I'm not gonna do that if she's not here to say anything. So um, my main points in my intro were defining beneficial because it means favorable or advantageous, resulting in good. And I feel like marriage, all the benefits of marriage, provide those things to Black women as well. They're not, for some reason, universally um, uh, unreachable or like not available to Black women for some reason, where they help all other women um, globally. So Black women deserve financial prosperity and generational wealth for their families.
I'm
uh,
interrupting you.
sure.
Sinji is not a part of the debate, but I could send her the link and she could debate you on this. She'll
Ooh.
be doing it impromptu, but obviously you would still move on, but she wants to debate this, and I think it would be fun.
I mean, sure, we can. I can debate that with her. That'd be fine.
Ah, cool.
I just don't
Uh,
like any crazy energy though.
uh,
I'm without protecting my energy. You know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't like I am, somebody that is a marriage. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like I'm not somebody like this is a. We were assigned a prompt.
yeah. Oh, I need to make
So
that clear too. Yeah,
do you
these
mean?
the prompts were assigned, and these are not the specific views of the people who are advocating it. But I was going to be a little bit on the opposing end. Um, yeah, I'm going to be on the opposing end. So instead of me doing that, let me have Sinji do it. But go ahead, do your opening, and I'll be on the screen still.
Okay. So I was saying that Black women deserve financial prosperity and generational wealth for their families. Black women need better health outcomes, and that can be achieved through having spousal support. Black women deserve happiness, which there are plenty of statistical. There's plenty of statistical data available showing that married people are happier than single people. Black women and ultimately Black women just need support across the board. Black women need support in their families. They need support financially. They need support emotionally, spiritually. Black women need support. Psychologist Davina Ghosh from Manchester University. She's the founder of the Cornish and Lifestyle Management School, who specializes in couples counseling and family therapy. Has wrote out a huge paper about the basic fundamentals of support in relationship and how important it is through marriage that you have a supportive spouse and what the benefits of having a supportive spouse are. And she has outlined 7 basic fundamentals of support in a relationship. So the first would be respect, begetting support, begets support. So if you have a respectful relationship as a ground foundation, you will be supported in pretty much all the other avenues of support that exist. So, empathy is number two, a vital element of emotional support. Growth and support go hand in hand, is number three. Four is trust is synonymous with support. Five is making your partner feel safe is one of the relationship fundamentals. And six is support yields motivation. So motivation, actually, that's a huge one too, being that Black women are so naturally ambitious. Having support, and I have statistics related to this as well that I could bring up later. But Black women, they generally do not get support in the office, in their workspaces. They don't get support outside the home. So it's really important that they have somebody at home that can help them when they're wanting to leave their company or progress in their career or pursue an education. It's great to be able to have somebody who is at home to support you and pay for you to actually pursue the things that you dream of doing. We have seen, even anecdotally, plenty of women who in the spotlight have taken time off of work to pursue whatever you got, like, you know, Tabitha Brown, and there's a plethora of women that have taken time off, and their husbands have picked up the slack and paid the bills and ensured everything was taken care of in the household while they went back to school or while they started their businesses, and they have benefited from their husbands being there. And these are things that they wouldn't have been able to do without having a husband, or at least they wouldn't have been able to do easily. They would have taken a lot more support. I mean, they would have had to find the support somewhere else, and they have it built into somebody that lives at home with them. But yeah, an affection blossoms and results in a relationship satisfaction when you have a supportive partner. So in the end, historically, marriage has never been about marrying for love specifically. It's been about collecting resources. So to say that even at its basis, like, the foundation of marriage and the fundamental purpose of marriage originally was to help people financially and to help them with their families' inheritances, and just maintaining wealth and building wealth. So for those things alone, Black women can benefit greatly. But the real crux, though, of whether or not we benefit is there are several reasons why we wouldn't benefit. That would be because of our culture, the way our culture, Black culture, looks at marriage, and the way they condition Black women versus Black men to approach marriage is very different, and it's very detrimental to Black women, because no other culture approaches marriage in this way. So that is a problem, and also the way our expectations of marriage. We expect maybe too much from marriage. Marriage in and of itself should not be what's making you happy. And that can be a problem if that's what you're going in expecting. Like, if you're expecting marriage to be like a panacea that corrects all the ills in your life, that's not going to happen. It's not going to improve your relationship. It's not going to, unless you just don't have, like, if you have an arranged marriage or something. But generally, if you've got problems before marriage, getting married will generally not fix those problems. It may just amplify them. So these are things that I think are around what makes marriage, and also the fact that Black women marry down generally. So these things are all shaped around why historically marriage has not been so beneficial for Black women. But I think changing our perspective on marriage and just our mindset going into marriage will do wonders to progress us, and help us culturally shift into following what other groups are doing when it comes to hypergamous marriages.
All right. Can I speak now?
Yes.
By the way, Sin, I sent the link to you. I don't expect there to be you to have an opening, but what you can join at any point. All right. So you said that marriage is good because of support. This implies that the support is there in the marriage. So how do you argue that it is beneficial because when you have a supportive spouse, it is good for you without explaining how we know the kinds of spouse um, how do we know the kind of spouse that people are going to have? What statistically has been proven to be the case for the kinds of spouse people tend to have? Um, sorry,
Well,
since I do have an opening, I sent you the link. Please come forward. I want to hear it. Go ahead.
Well, I'm basing my thought process on whether a marriage is beneficial or not beneficial. So to say it's not beneficial means that even in the best case scenario, with the most supportive, the best spouse, it's not going to be good for you. And that's just not true. There's nothing that shows that at all. So if we're saying beneficial versus not beneficial, I would say it's beneficial because if you are in the best case scenario, it's going to be great. So there's
Yeah,
not.
but that is implying that people. So if we're saying it is
Mhm.
detrimental or helpful, what we
Yeah.
would do is look at what marriage is, what it is supposed to be, and how people engage in it, and then we could start di- dissecting it that way. It seems what you're doing is saying the optimal marriage look this way, therefore marriage is good for you. However, that is not what marriage is all the time. And so it seems like you're making the optimal marriage or relationship the thing that you're describing.
Yes, but that's only because the obvious alternative to that would be it's detrimental. And even in the best, to say that would mean that in the even in the best of circumstances, it's going to be detrimental to you. And that's not
No,
true.
yeah, but that's the thing though, to say it is you're
Mhm.
arguing for the most optimal type of marriage feels
Yes.
like you're saying people should think marriage is beneficial from a very sort of delusional, not you delusional, but a delusional standpoint in that if you're saying marriage is good because the optimal marriage look like this, how many people will ever get to that level?
Well,
And
that's the thing that we need to focus on is like make setting yourself up to have the most optimal marriage. So,
all right, we'll get back to that
okay.
AJM because I think this is very tricky now. I didn't know you were taking it this way, and I'm here for it. All right,
Okay.
Finn, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. I was actually just having some margaritas and tamales, but when I saw that you came on here and you were doing this in debate style, I said, "Oh no, I must." So I think the universe was telling you that I need to be on this debate because the other person didn't show up. So I think that's a
Mhm.
sign.
Mhm.
Um, so it's let me just say this to start. As many of us know, I already just recently did an entire expose on marriage, specifically black marriages, where I included all of the data. So for the people who may say, where is she getting her data from? Go look at my video on marriage because what I'm going to reference is coming from that video where I showed all of the receipts. Now, marriage is not helpful to black women. It never has been. It is a burden to black women. We know that historically, if you go by the Moynihan report, it detailed how even when black people had the highest rates of marriages, they had also the highest rates of married single mothers. Where the men were engaging in a poor man's divorce, i.e., walking out on his family. So black women were left to be the breadwinners. That same report said that since black people stepped off the plantation, black women had been heading the homes, being either the sole or primary breadwinner of the home, where the males, because they were undereducated, um, and just wrapped up in their degeneracy. They were leaving their wives' homes, still being married, but going and creating other children. That dynamic has not changed even today. We know the Brookings Institute says that Black women marrying Black men, and since this is specifically about Black women, I'm going to keep it on Black women. Black women marrying Black men roots them to poverty. Just like she just admitted, Black women not only primarily date down, but they also primarily date Black. So when we have this discussion, even now, Black women still primarily want to marry Black men, although Ralph Richard Banks, Teresa Judice, and who else came out and already wrote books based on the data talking about how Black men are not good marriage partners. They don't bring income to the table. They don't bring education to the table. A lot of the times they're living in the home and are not being active with their children. So Black women are not even getting providers or fathers for their children through marriage. What it does is it sucks away Black women's incomes. It roots them to poverty. It causes them to be depressed. I know that she said that women are happier, married couples are happier. They're not happier than single women. That's what was in the data as well. And I just recently showed another video of the data where a white man and a white woman were talking about it. In general, women benefit less from marriage, but specifically when it comes to Black women are at a complete disadvantage. Black women have the highest divorce rate, the lowest marriage rate, the highest rate of STDs among married women, the lowest marriage quality rates. The Black male husbands are the most likely to engage in extramarital infidelity. So there is no evidence at all to substantiate that marriage would ever be helpful to Black women. In fact, all the
that is
reports it is
untrue.
not.
That is untrue,
It
Wait,
is
actually.
wait,
true.
before you
Okay,
go, AJ. Wait,
it's
no,
So,
no, no, no.
okay
sorry.
Before you go,
because
AJ,
you
let Sin
you
finish
said you didn't
her
want
intro.
us. You said you
Wait,
didn't want a certain energy, but then you just cut into my whole
I'm
intro
sorry. I'm sorry. I
just
didn't
to
want to like.
interrupt me.
Sorry.
Because that is true. It is true. Black women are not benefiting at all. You even have a ton of Black celebrities who are now coming out, putting out PSAs talking about how detrimental marriage is. There is likely, and I don't know, I'm going to research it. There is likely more Black women paying spousal support to a man that she married down and didn't get a prenup with than there is receiving it. Getting spousal support is not common even among all marriages, but based on the data that I found, it literally said verbatim, Black women have almost never received the benefits that marriage has to offer. Never. And they don't get spousal support, so we can throw that out. They're not getting a helpful mate. They're basically only getting the right to say, I have a husband, my man, my man, my man. But typically their husband is somebody else's boyfriend. The infidelity is high, the abuse is high, the domestic fatalities is high. The only thing that's low is the rate that Black men marry Black women. And I'll rest my case right there.
all right. So we heard both opening disregard all my questioning to you, AJM, before. So now we can cross dialogue. You had some objections, AJM. Go ahead.
Right. So everything Cynthia is saying is true, but again, that relates to the Black culture. And that's what I'm saying. If a Black woman is marrying outside of Black culture, then she is not experiencing any of those things. So the issue is that we Black people are conditioning our daughters to accept the worst possible options for marriage, and also discouraging them. We're actively discouraging them from seeking hypergamous relationships, from seeking prenuptial agreements, from wanting to find a man that's of character. We actually spend more time as a culture trying to convince Black girls that they can do it even without a man. So if they get pregnant, it's okay. You can have this baby by yourself. You can do it by yourself, and that's all a lie. I mean, you can do it, but is it going to be beneficial for you to do that? No, absolutely not. And my stance is marriage is beneficial for all other women. So the problem isn't marriage. The problem is who we're marrying. And I think that's really what we need to focus on, is shifting the perspective of not to say don't get married, it's don't marry this. Okay, and this is what you need to do to set yourself up for a successful marriage. You need a prenup. You don't marry somebody that is below you in financial and social status. You don't. So if we modeled our perceptions and our goals of marriage after what other cultures do, our women would also see all the benefits that all other women see.
All right.
Can I respond to that? So, she admitted that historically marriage has never been helpful to Black women. We are having a present day discussion, but I want to say, if you can acknowledge that historically marriage hasn't been helpful to or benefited Black women, then what are you basing your argument on today when the marriage
Well,
theme has only gotten worse? It hasn't been helpful to Black women. So I would like to know what she's basing her argument on.
it's
But
actually helpful
currently,
to Black
but
women to marry
okay,
out.
okay, can you stop
Good.
cutting me off, because we're talking, because if you don't want a certain energy, I'm asking you now. Stop
Mhm.
cutting me off, please. I'm not cutting you off. I'm not jumping into your discussion. Please don't do it again, so that I don't have to come out of my element. I don't want
I
to do
won't.
that on
I
Famous
won't.
channel.
It's fine.
Give me the respect that you want me to give you. So the bottom line is, the outliers are Black women marrying out. The vast majority of Black women marry Black men and want to marry Black men. So you do not have an argument by saying Black women benefit from marriage when they're marrying other races of men, when the majority of Black women, the general population of Black women, are marrying Black men. So, given the general amount of the majority of Black women, no, it does not benefit them. We can talk about hypotheticals all day, every day. Of course, if we were raising the daughters and socializing them to be hypergamous and get prenups, if Black men weren't in a NAB position and valued marriage, if Black men married, we can talk about ifs and hypothetical all day, but I like to deal with the reality that we are in. And the reality that we are in says none of those things are true. So currently, marriage is not helpful to Black women. It is a burden to them. Anyone who reads the marriage data, and specifically the Black marriage data, would and have came to that conclusion. There is no reliable data source that says that marriage to Black men, which is who Black women are primarily marrying, there is no piece of data that says that it is helpful to them. All of them says it is a burden. They become depressed, they become overweight, their life is cut short, their mental health suffers, their physical health suffers. So absolutely, I don't know what you're basing your argument on, but currently in 2023, marriage is not helpful to Black women, and there is nothing that you're going to present that says otherwise.
Well, historically, marriages have not been good for Black women is since position. How do you rebut this? Do you think you have to rebut this? What is your response?
Well, it hasn't, because we've been marrying Black men and marrying in Black culture. Like, of course, it's going to be terrible for us. It's going to continue to be terrible for us if we continue on that path. But statistics show that when Black women marry out, they have very successful marriages. So it's not just Black women that marriage just magically is terrible for. It's Black culture, that Black women that marry within Black culture, that are experiencing these terrible things, and the
Wait,
unicorns are the ones that are doing well. So that just stands to reason that the issue is that we need to change the way the culture operates, and that if women start doing that actively on their own, like, just because you were raised a certain way doesn't mean you can't actively work to change your mindset. It doesn't mean that you can't actively work to pursue the kind of person that will be a quality mate for you. But it does require Black women to be okay with marrying out. And that's something that, it's unfortunately, most Black women don't want to marry out, but that is from a place of vanity. So you'd rather have your children suffering um, than to create a loving, healthy, potentially loving and healthy marital environment to raise a family within and build wealth in. So it's, I mean, it's obvious. Otherwise, if marriage was just in and of itself detrimental, all women would be suffering in marriage, and that's not what we see. Black women statistically are have the worst outcomes, but
Yeah,
it's because of who we
but
marry.
so to say one group has the worst outcome is not the same as saying the thing is good, right? It could
Mhm.
just be a race to the bottom. And so I would like for you to sort of tackle the idea that maybe there is truth to sin's opening. How do you respond to this, if true, or do you reject it? That women generally are happier when they're single than when they are in marriage. And then I'll go ask Sin my question.
No, I found several studies that say that that are contrary to that. The most popular study that is cited when it comes to happiness of single women is by the author Peter Dorn, I believe his name is. But he even was blasted by his the
Sorry,
psych.
when I said happiness, I meant happiness and health. Happiness is very hard to sort of watch, but longer
Mhm.
life and health, I think those are more uh, objective markers.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. Well, when you're talking about health, there are many studies that show that women who are in healthy, supportive marriages are healthier. They do
Wait,
have better health
I feel like
outcomes.
that's a sleight of hand. Okay,
Well,
'cause
I mean, if you're, mhm, mhm,
you specify the kind of marriage, and we're trying to
yeah,
speak about marriage generally.
mhm,
And so, is the research, and I think Finn probably should speak to it more than I should, but is the
Yeah, because I'm literally looking at, I could type into Google because I don't understand how she doesn't know. You can type in a super simple Google search and see and put in just are single women happier than married women? And every single source that comes up says yes, single women are happier, they live longer, their health is better when they are unmarried and without children. So if you compare them to single mothers, then yeah, married women are going to be happier. But when you compare them to single women without children, absolutely they are not happy. And in anything that you're quoting is false. Most all of the data sources that I've looked at, all of the ones that have been presented by these professional people, single women with no children are far happier than married women. Absolutely.
all right, how do you respond to that, AJM? And then I'll go to Sin with the next question.
Oh, I actually can send out the links I have. There are several studies showing that married women are happier than single women. So I'm not really sure. Most of the things I did Google were citing the same article saying that single women are happier. They were almost most of them are citing the same article when they're talking about that, the same research report. But so I don't know if that counts as like being extra valid just because a lot of people are citing it. But there are several other reports from the UK, from the Netherlands, that show that people who are married do have better health and happiness scorings than people who are single.
All
And
right,
generally, people who are single also worry about being single. So that's a whole other added layer to their unhappiness.
all right. So there is a question of conflicting research and which one we should engage with. I think you both can talk to this after my next question to Sin. But Sin, the argument AJM seemed to be making is that it is not marriage as an institution that is harmful, but rather the kinds of marriages people get into are detrimental to them. And so we shouldn't be talking about marriage being bad, but rather kinds of marriages being bad and find out which ones are good and go for those ones. Is that, Adrian, is that
That's
a,
correct.
all right? How do you respond to that?
I say that that's not true, and I often hear, and I'm not saying that about her because I don't really know what her stance is. She could be arguing a side that she doesn't necessarily agree with,
Yeah,
but
it would never be assigned.
yeah, I relegate that to the mindset of marriage obsessed black women who like to ignore all of the data that says women in general. This is not just a black woman thing. This is why less women are opting to get married. That's really why the marriage is changing, not because we already know how black men feel about marriage, but the overall scope of marriage, to my knowledge, is changing not because of men wanting to get married less, but because women don't want to get married because they know marriage does not benefit them. One of the biggest reasons they said that marriage does not benefit women or benefits men more is because of the foundation of marriage, meaning what marriage was established on. Marriage was essentially established on the oppression of women, making them property of the man. This is why the man benefits more in a marriage, because he's getting free labor out of the woman, he's getting a psychiatrist out of the woman, he's getting everything from her, and he's not reciprocating that. So I don't know what data she's looking at that's saying that women are extremely happy and benefiting in marriages. This literally contradicts every single thing I've seen about marriage. The foundation of marriage does not allow women to benefit more than men, or benefit to a degree that they can feel happy and whole. They are not. There's a labor distribution that is imbalanced. There's an emotional input and output distribution that's imbalanced. There's a financial imbalance. Even when a divorce happens, the man is even better off than the woman financially and otherwise upon a divorce. And that's for all races of women. So when we lower it to black women, then it becomes worse. But all group women, regardless to race, are not having happy experiences in marriages. And actually, the data that I said looked at, all of the studies said the happiness of a woman and the benefits that she gets out of the marriage is dependent on the quality of the marriage. And I think the divorce rate says that the quality of these marriages are not good, especially in the black community, because black women's marriage quality is lower. And I don't know why she keeps deflecting to other groups of people when this is specifically about black women. Also, I don't know why we keep talking about hypothetical situations. If black women did this, if they did that. Currently, black women are not doing those things. So can we stay in the current of what black women are doing? We already know anything can be changed by the ifs and the whatabouts and the hypotheticals. Yeah, if you can create another scenario, of course, then the outcome would change. Obviously, that's not happening here, though. So if we work with what we're currently dealing with, marriage is not helpful to black women, and she still has not presented anything that says otherwise. Please present something that says specifically to black women, marriage is helpful, because that is what the debate is about, to my knowledge. That's what I'm looking at with the title. It says to black women. So
Before AJM responds as to how marriage benefits Black women, could you also, a secondary issue with this has to be, are you saying marriage is bad for women generally, and for the debate more specifically for Black women? And are you arguing that the institution of marriage is ultimately oppressive?
Oh, or
I
who?
am saying the institution of marriage and the foundation of it is the problem. It's not the type of marriage, it is marriage. And unless we change how marriage is engaged in, unless we change the foundation of marriage, it's not going to be as beneficial to women as it is to men. And it's definitely not going to be as beneficial to black women as it is to other groups of women. Because there are some benefits that other groups of women get, black women do not generally get them.
So under this, are you're then saying marriage is just bad? How should we consider your position then? Is every single marriage bad? Is Are
I'm not
some
saying
marriage
it's
bad?
bad. I'm not saying that marriage is bad. I'm saying it's not wholly beneficial to women. Just
Mm.
because it doesn't benefit them as much as it benefits their male counterpart, something can be unequal and imbalanced and still be seen as something that's good to the person, especially if they don't have the expectation that they gain in it. And so saying that is lopsided and is imbalanced in favor of men does not necessarily mean that it's bad.
But detrimental to women.
to black women. Now, when
All
it
right.
comes to black women, yes, I am saying that marriage to the way that black women are engaging in marriage now is wholly detrimental and a burden to them. Absolutely.
All right. So, AJM, how do you respond to this? The institution of marriage is bad for Black women.
So I am on in the position that the institution of marriage is not wholly bad. That marriage is necessary for children, for healthy children, and most women actually want children. So staying single, having children is the worst case scenario to raise if you're looking at raising children and by choice. So
Wait.
no.
I'm interrupting you because I don't want Sin to do this, so I will. Because I've heard her talk about this. When you say marriage is necessary for having children on one hand, and then the other, the worst case scenario is to be a single parent or a single mother with a child, that feels like a hyperbolic approach, does it not?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's definitely hyperbolic. I mean, like the whole point
It's
is
just
they
not
you
true.
it's
It's just
hyperbolic.
not true. It's
Right? We're trying to get the audience to be like, I'm trying to spice it up, right? Like you want that's what you want to say, like out here, like
I feel like
but
her statement just isn't true because children don't even know that their parents are married. Children don't know what marriage is. Children simply see mommy and daddy are together in a home. Furthermore, what the data actually says is that a two-parenting, functional, cohabitating, healthy home is better than a home in which a parent is raising a child alone. And that should be obvious. But does the children know when they are born that y'all went to court and had to file for a marriage license and pay a fee to get married? No, they simply know their parents are together. And it wouldn't make a difference whether their parents are married and have that legal document versus them just being in a healthy, functional home, because we know there are a lot of dysfunctional marriages and they are not good for children. So at the end of the day, this children argument is silly and quite frankly remedial. I'm not trying to insult anybody, but I would think common sense would tell you that children, until they're of a certain age, don't even know what marriage is. They don't know what marriage is supposed to be, and they don't know their parents are married. My parents were married. I can tell you, I didn't know they were married until I was at least a teenager. I didn't know
Well,
they were married.
I will reject the idea that it is a remedial take because I think part of why I stopped AJM there is I think the comment here exemplifies so much of the idea that marriage, which is kind of a carrot in some ways to say this is what you should achieve. I do you AJM as a part of your argument believe that a single mother with resources um, will fare better as a parent, and the child will fare better than a married person in poverty facing abuse?
absolutely not. No. Anybody that's in an abusive relationship is default in the worst case scenario. That let me be clear. When I'm speaking about marriage, I'm speaking about like healthy relationships. So if you have like a healthy relationship, your children will fare better than if you are alone, even with more resources than if you were by yourself. Like they would
Wait,
you
sorry,
will
can you repeat that again?
yeah, your children will be better in a healthy marriage, raised in a healthy marriage. They'll be better off than if they are raised by a single parent with twice as many resources.
And
So
do you know the comparison between two cohabitating people who are not married but in a functional, healthy relationship, and how the outcome of the children compares to a married couple who is in the same dynamic?
yeah, well, technically, there's not as much security if you are just in a cohabitating relationship
So,
versus
so again, we're not talking about security. We're talking about the outcome of the children. You're
that's what I'm
introducing
saying.
security into. So
Well,
I'm asking a very.
security
Can
is
you
necessary.
listen? Can you listen to the question that I'm asking you?
Mhm.
How does the child outcome compare in a relationship where there are two unmarried cohabitating parents who are functional and healthy? How does that compare to a married couple who have the same relationship dynamic? Because first you said relationship, then you changed it to marriage, because you know that the marriage, which is actually the document, the legal document saying that you two are legally bound together, is not the same as the relationship. A relationship is different than a document. So therefore, the marriage can be extremely dysfunctional, regardless of the fact that you're tied together. And if you look at the divorce rate and why people are getting divorced, you can conclude that those married relationships are not functional. Happily married functional couples do not get divorced.
All right. So,
well, if we're saying if we're saying two couples that are apples to apples in a healthy relationship, but one couple is married and one isn't, the married couple is more stable than the unmarried couple. If we're
actually, the data says the outcome on the children would be the same. The data says the outcome on the children is the same.
Wait, before you go, Sin, I want to hear. So you're saying what, AJM?
I'm sorry. Oh, what am I saying? Yeah. When you were talking apples to apples, the data that I have shows that the children will be better if they are raised in, or happier, more emotionally well-rounded, if they are raised in a household where the parents are married versus a unwed couple, because there's more stability generally in the married household than there is in the unwed household.
Can you get the data and read why they said it's better, and what was the security? What were the factors that made it better? Can you get your data and read it?
Yeah.
Okay.
While you do that, sorry.
And I'm asking because I know for a fact the data doesn't say that. In fact, it said one of the misconceptions that a lot of people make is thinking that because somebody is married, then the relationship is going to be functional, and that's actually not the case. The outcome of the children is the same. In a functional cohabitating two-parent home, the outcome on the children is the same. It just, because she can say stability, which you didn't say what is more stable. Where is the stability coming from? Is the stability coming from the finances? Is it relationship stability? Because I think we very well know married people leave all the time. So just because you're married doesn't necessarily mean that person can't leave the relationship. They do, or else you wouldn't have had the poor man's divorce. Historically, they've been just walking out. So when you say there's more stability, what does your research define as stability? What is making it more stable? Because you're not going to convince me that that piece of paper is.
Well, again, with the black man walking out, that's...
Could you please just read it? Could you please just read your data?
Wait. Go ahead, AJ. I'm sorry.
Okay. It's from the National Library of Medicine, the impact of family structure on health of children, effects of divorce.
What are the dates?
This is from November of 2014.
Okay, go ahead.
Let's see. Nearly 3 decades of research evaluating the impact of family structure on the health and well-being of children demonstrates that children living with their married biological parents consistently have better physical, emotional, and academic well-being. Pediatricians and society should promote the family structure that is the best chance of producing healthy children. The best scientific literature to date suggests that, with the exception of parents faced with unresolvable marital violence, children fare better when parents work at maintaining the marriage. Consequently, society should make every effort to support healthy marriages and to discourage married couples from divorcing. And it goes on with epidemiology.
So that's not what you presented. So because we already know that divorce is hard on children. Obviously, it's the separation of their parents. Whether they were divorced or not, if two parents separate, it's going to be hard on the child. What we were talking about is you saying that the children have a better outcome being with married parents than two non-married cohabitating parents who have a functional relationship. That is the data that I'm asking for. I'm not asking about the effects of divorce. I'm not asking, because that one didn't even say what you said. It said it did. It said they just fare better in comparison to what? though. I want you to present the data where a child living in a two-parent home where the parents are not married, but they are functional, the relationship is solid, they're committed, because obviously they're committed if they're living with each other. Compare that to the outcome of children in a marriage. Because everything that I read said the outcome is the same.
Okay, let me see this other, because I have another one here.
There was all right. Sen,
Yes.
question. I'll ask a question for you though. There was a paper that came out in 2019 that highlights these were a bunch of pediatricians coming together, and the idea was that marriage serves numerous purposes in terms of child development. One of them seems sort of illusory but has meaningful impact on the child, and it's the name. So when you said marriage was a system that is oppressive to women, one of the examples of that would be the woman taking on the man's name as a sort of general thing within the society. But women, even feminists, have decided not to drop that tradition because of the impact on the child when they all share the same last name. And this allows for the child to feel like they're more part of a cohesive tribe, if you will, within the family. Are you How do you react to something like that? Assuming if it's true, you can fight if it's true or not. But does that shape the way in which marriage could have an additional benefit on paper?
I think that if the only benefit that
Not the
a
only, but
woman
one.
would, I think it's a minuscule benefit. I do understand it. I do obviously understand it. I would think it would be the same concept of a child wanting to have, like, if they have more of an attachment to their father, wanting to have their father's last name and seeing pride in that. So I do understand that, but in the grand scheme of things, I really feel like that's a moot point. To be honest, like, I think that's very small in terms of, oh, well, the kids feel a sense of belonging. The children are going to feel like they belong when they're with their parents and their parents are happy. And their parents are loving them. They're going to feel a sense of belonging. I don't think that will make or break a situation at all.
Okay, so that's the foundation, though, right? Because then we're talking
Part of it,
about,
yeah. It's part of it, yeah. It
yeah,
is part of
and
it.
so now we're talking about integrating lives in a way that, and we're not just talking about stability because we know people can just up and leave, but when we're talking about integrating finances, homes, accounts, healthcare, everything being integrated legally in this way without having to go through all the contracts you would require to make those kinds of agreements separately. The marriage kind of bypass all the need for those kinds of contract and create this kind of legal cohesion. That kind of benefit seems to be important for child development and for the woman, because this is not just about the child but about people. When someone passes away, how assets are going to be allocated. It seems that there are very specific, tangible benefits to marriage. How do you respond to this? And I
I
think, go ahead.
I respond by saying you can get some of the same tangible benefits with power of attorney and somebody writing you as their beneficiary on insurance or a will. Because those things that you just mentioned, they can be seen as a benefit until the relationship dissolves, and then it becomes a burden. It becomes a hindrance, and it becomes something that ends up making it very difficult for a person to exit a relationship that they no longer want to be in. So I think it ends up posing either benefit and a detriment, just at different times, because the data actually says that ends up being a burden to the woman, not the man, but the woman and her children when they exit the relationship. And we know they are, because most relationships end in divorce, not death. Most marriages end in divorce, not death.
But isn't that AJM's point though? It's she didn't say choose better, but it seems that the kinds of marriages that we are using to
Those are the kind of marriages that Black people, women are in, though. So that's why I said that was a moot point that she made, because Black women are not in those types of marriages. So I don't even understand why those types of marriages are being allowed to be brought up, because those are not Black women's marriage dynamics. And I think we all know that. And like I said, we can all talk about hypotheticals and how outcomes would change if the situation and details change. But the fact of the matter is, those are not the relationship dynamics that Black women are in. They are not. We know the relationship dynamics that Black women are in, and we know they are not helpful. They are detrimental.
Isn't that exactly what we should be talking about then? In so doing, saying that the kinds of relationship that Black women are in are bad, saying that relationships, marriages are bad, would be sort of sidestepping the problem if, in fact, you can reimagine the kinds of relationship they could be in to make them better and beneficial. The
Yeah,
marriages.
if the title didn't say is marriage more helpful or detrimental, if it said could marriage be more helpful or more detrimental, then yeah. But if I'm looking at is as opposed to could, then I'm thinking the is or the could is an indicator of the type of discussion I'm going to have.
All right,
Could
that's fine.
imply hypothetical situations. Is talks about what's currently
I'm not
happening.
sure if you heard how I was responding to AJM before you came on, but that's essentially the response. So AJM, it is on you. How do you push back against that?
Okay, so what I found.
By the way, it's not a semantics point. It is the prompt was written that way for this specific reason.
Yeah, like why are they saying semantics? You don't. It's only semantics if you don't know that there's a different meaning between is and could, and they signify two different scenarios. So if you're remedial, then you would think it's the issue of semantics. These are two different words, two different meanings. Like who is saying what special, barely literate person is saying semantics?
It is muting.
Yeah. Well, Sin, if you're saying remedial, you're calling Themis remedial because he said.
No, I'm not calling Themis remedial. I'm calling the person in the chat box, Pittus, who said, "Oh, semantics." That's the person I'm calling remedial. Themis was looking at something from the comment section. I saw who made the comment. So don't please don't try that, please.
Well, I'm just saying he came in with a prompt. So I'm like, I don't know.
No. It was the idea that because. It is what when you and I were talking before Sin came up, that's what I was trying to do. Say you were saying could, but the prompt said is. And so it's not it's not a semantics point, but it's not you. It's people in the comments saying it's semantics. It wasn't semantics. It's meaningful. Go ahead, AJ.
Like they literally mean two different things, but okay.
So I found the data that I found was comparing, but they were comparing single households to cohabitative households, but that's because they define cohabitation that is
unmarried. Can you find the one between marriage and cohabitating households? Like, because you're finding everything except for what was presented.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They define cohabitating households as being common law marriage. So they are defining them as being married.
Okay, so then why didn't you just say there's no difference then? If you're gonna say they're defining the marriages, then you should have just said no. Girl, like come on, like I don't like when that's done. I don't like when someone does that.
I mean, it's okay. I'm not,
if you were gonna sum them up as common law marriages, then you should have said that a while back when I asked you to compare a married relationship and household to that of a cohabitating one. You could have simply said, those are considered. You could have just said, those are considered as common law marriages. It would have deaded the situation, even though you would have been proving my point, but still.
Sin. Wait, I want to hear.
I'm not getting riled up. Like, what are y'all talking about? Like, who's getting riled up?
Y'all sensitive. Oh, sorry, Tammy says.
Yeah, they're weird. Like, get y'all's emotions in check.
Wait, Sin promotes. She will never seriously date or marry outside black men. So why are you guys attacking? I don't understand why we are attacking people on the panel. Why we are attacking
Because
people?
they're marriage obsessed and they're triggered because I'm telling the truth about marriage. They did the same thing when I did my video on it. It's Black
The,
women have a weird attachment to marriage. They see it as their passport to male validation. So anytime you try to chip away at that, they just get riled up because they're like, oh, she's telling the truth about marriage. I am in a marriage where my husband is somebody else's boyfriend. They're mad because it's the truth.
so sorry, not my side pain came back. AJM, the prompt, your research seem to be it sounds good, but then when the question is being asked regarding specifically the comparison that you made, are you saying that it was a miss? How are you explaining this? Your
Oh,
research.
so I looked at the prompt as being, is marriage bad for Black women? And no, marriage isn't bad for Black women. Like, marriage is not bad. Like, in and of itself, the institution of marriage is not bad for Black women. The problem is the way Black women marry. It
All right,
marriages tend to
right
not.
there. How are you interpreting the prompt? When we say is marriage bad detrimental to black women, can you explain what that prompt is saying to you?
To me, it's asking if the institution of marriage, which like is a global institution, like all these people are getting married, is it for us specifically bad?
How
So
do you
marriage, the
determine?
way it's approached globally, is that bad for us? And
And
I would say, mhm.
how do you come to your conclusion that it is the institution that we currently have is
Mhm.
not bad for black women?
No, I'd say just because how based off what we see in other cultures, marriage is not. Um, Women aren't faring as poorly as they are for Black women who are marrying in the Black community.
So,
So
but you can admit though that the way marriage has been engaged with, the way black women have engaged with marriage has been bad for them.
yes, and that has been my angle the whole time. It's like the way we marry is what makes marriage not beneficial for us, but marriage in and of itself is not something that we like. Like happy marriages are not something that we can't obtain. It's just that we need to change the way we are marrying.
All right, Finn, how do you respond? Thank you for clarifying that. So you're not saying black women getting married, it's good for you right now. You're saying marriage as it exists is
Right.
beneficial, but the way you are engaging with marriage or getting married is bad for you. It doesn't mean marriage itself is bad. It means the way you've engaged with marriage or how people have engaged with you in marriage, whatever you want to put it, is bad. Something
Yeah.
about the engagement is bad, not the marriage itself.
Right.
All
Yes,
right,
that's the angle
Finn,
I
go ahead.
argue this. Yeah.
I think that she knows she has zero evidence to substantiate that marriage is helpful for Black women, and that's why she's sticking to hypotheticals, even in that situation with her saying, oh, the way that you're doing it now. Okay, well, the way that they're engaging in marriage now is the current discussion. So I think the fact that she keeps reverting to hypothetical situations and saying that, oh, it could be good for Black people, she doesn't have any evidence of where she's basing that from. She just thinks that it could because she wants to, just like a lot of people in the chat, because they want to believe that marriage is going to provide them something that is not providing them and has not been providing them. We all agree that if Black women did things differently, not only would their marriages be different, but the whole entire community would be different. But the question is, are they willing to do that, and are they starting to do that? And the answer is absolutely no. So as marriage currently stands, it is not helpful to Black women. And I think you just admitted that. So are you admitting that currently marriage is not helpful to Black women, but if they did things differently, then it could be helpful?
Yes, that's the way I'm approaching it. Black
Oh,
women,
okay.
I
We
feel like,
both
are
agree.
not marrying correctly, and that
Yeah,
is
then
why
we agree.
we've been
Wait,
experiencing
let's
more of this.
clarify this again.
Right.
Sin, ask your question. Ask that same question again.
Are you saying that currently marriage is not helpful for Black women, but if they did certain things and made certain chances, then it could possibly be helpful to them?
Yeah, that's exactly my stance. That's been my stance all the time. Yeah.
Do you both see why there is still? Sin, do you understand? Wait, not do you understand? That's a weird way to ask that question. Do you still think then? Do you understand AJM's position on marriage as an institution versus marriage in the way that Black community engage in it?
No, because her there's no evidence to support her stance on that. There's no evidence to. We already know the foundation and the institution of marriage and how it started. First, it started for money and political reasons, and then it morphed into, okay, you can choose. First, we were arranging marriages where the woman didn't have a choice in who she married. Then we went into where, okay, women can choose a mate, but they're still not happy in the marriage, and they're still, the divorces for everybody is nearly equal to it's nearly equal, 50-50 chance of divorce. But when you look at Black people's community, it's 3 times that of the marriage rate. So the bottom line of it is even if we said marriage in general, the fact that your chances of failure is as high as your chances of success is a problem. That means you're headed towards failure. As a business, that is a poor business decision to make. You don't engage in any business that says you have equal chance of failure as success. And that's actually changing to where you're about to be at, where it's more likely that you're going to fail than you're going to succeed at marriage. Now, if we looked at Black women and that stat of the fact that your divorce rate is the only divorce rate that's 3 times higher than the marriage rate, it says not only is marriage not helpful to Black women, but Black women are foolish for engaging in it. You're not exercising any intellect by engaging in something that you have 3 times the rate of failure, draining you economically, taking away from your health, your livelihood, the sanity of your children, rooting you to poverty. Absolutely not. Black women are damn fools for getting married as it currently stands. There is no benefit to you getting married.
Ariel says 10 for a thin preach. Thank you so much, Ariel. All right. So Black women are fools, quote, for engaging in marriage. How do you respond to this? Because it is tying them to poverty. It is elevating other people. It is not, oh my God. So Island Girl, 29 months. Thank you so much. How do you respond to this?
Oh, me?
Yeah. How do you respond to the idea that statistically Black women are put at a disadvantage when it comes to marriage?
You know, statistically, yes, we haven't been marrying well. I mean, we haven't been doing what we needed to do. But I'm not going to call them a fool. I'm not going to call anybody a fool that's been programmed to be a certain way and conditioned to be a certain way and then blame them for being that way. Like, to me, that seems unfair. So I would look at it. I mean, from childhood, we're told not to marry out we are conditioned to be this way. It's not as if we all just woke up one day and decided we're going to marry poorly. So I wouldn't say that Black women are fools because of that. I would say that once you understand the psychology behind it and what is going on and being able to look around you and see how your peers are faring in their marriages, that even in disillusion, like when they get divorced, they still come out on top. What are we doing incorrectly? That's where we're failing. It's not looking at those things like, what do we need to do to set ourselves up for success, even in the event that a marriage doesn't work out. But I wouldn't call us fools because of that.
All right. But the bigger point, outside of not calling fools, is the idea that historically Black women are not faring well. I think we have to move the conversation because there seems to be a sort of standstill happening. And I think both of you recognize this now, where you're saying that the institution of marriage is good. It's just in the way that Black women are engaging with it. Thin doubles down on the way Black women are engaging, Black people, the Black community, but Black women for this debate are engaging, they're engaging in it. And that is evidence that it doesn't work. Do you want to provide any sort of response, not just stats, but response regarding how marriage fear for other groups of women and why or how sort of Black people could engage in that way to get those kinds of benefits?
Oh, definitely. It's scrapping this mindset that money doesn't matter, because money absolutely does matter. It absolutely does matter. We need to get rid of the mindset that we need to hold down a man, that we need to build a man up, that we need to basically carry the entire weight of the household on our shoulders. Black women are overworked outside of the home, and then they come home and they do all the work at home. So in those instances, you really, and that's whether they're single or married to a Black man. So for the most part. So if you want to change the way we think, we just need to change the way we're thinking about marriage. Sin had mentioned earlier, like as a business decision, marriage wouldn't be a good idea. But I'd say you should look at marriage as a business decision. Go into a marriage looking at it like it is a partnership. So you should be vetting, like looking at a person's financial history, their credit. You should be setting up a prenup. You should be talking to lawyers. You, just like you would a business, you should be entering marriage the same way. And just like you would a business, you should have expectations tempered to that of a business. Like you shouldn't be expecting marriage to be a cure-all. You shouldn't be expecting marriage to do these incredible things. You should be going into it from the mindset of, this is like a business that I need to work at and I need to invest in to get returns, and it might fail. Even the best of intentions in business, sometimes businesses fail. So that's just something that we have to understand. But when they are successful, the benefits are tremendous. So we need to look at it that way.
Then, is there evidence to support that cohabitation is better than marriage for Black women? I don't know if you.
Nobody presented that. Like, who said that?
I think the argument is that it's similar to or same as.
Yeah, I'm saying that out for the, so for the people who are saying, oh, marriage is better for children, I'm saying that a cohabitating functional household between two people who are not married, it produces the same outcome as a married household. It produces the same outcome for the children. However, nobody is even telling you not to get married. Like, nobody's telling you not to get married. If anybody in the chat box is a Black woman and you think that marriage benefits you despite all the data and experiences that says it's not, then go ahead, go get in it. Some people don't believe fat meat is greasy. Some people don't have the capacity to learn from the mistakes of others. They actually have to experience the mistake for themselves. So just go do it.
So AJM has broadened the discussion in a way that I think for you both to debate on the narrow Black woman issue, you have to first argue on the higher level. And it feels like the argument was already made regarding the system of marriage being oppressive. But AJM's contention here, her argument essentially is that the system is not bad. The way we engage with it is. That's what I've explained. So instead of saying how we engage with it, let's skip that part and go broader for Sin.
So can I say something? Can I say this? I look at marriage the same way I look at Black people in this oppressive system. We have two institutions that was created to oppress. We know marriage was created for wealth and political power, but we know what comes with political power is often oppression. So we can say that that was the foundation of it. Just like Black people can find a way to thrive in this oppressive system, a woman can find a way to thrive in a marriage that doesn't benefit her, but that doesn't negate the fact that it is still an oppressive situation nonetheless. So I don't want people to think that because you have women engaging in marriage that doesn't benefit them, that negates that it is a non-beneficial, or there's a imbalanced, it's an imbalanced union that you can make the best of, much like how Black people, some of them have decided to make a way to thrive in an oppressive system.
All right, so the system is oppressive. AJM, this is in direct conflict with your idea that marriage is good. It's just the way that we're engaging with it. So let's ignore the Black community momentarily. And now we're at, is marriage oppressive?
No, not, I mean, again, it depends on how you engage in it. That's like saying, is marriage abusive? Is marriage, any of those things? Like,
how do we
figure
out? So how do we figure this out? So I'm gonna go. I don't know who's been doing the most heavy lifting, so I don't really know who to go to balance this out. But I'm gonna go to Sin. Why do you say marriage is oppressive? So we have a framework for which AJM can respond to. Why is marriage, not Black marriage, not any specific marriage, but marriage generally, why is it oppressive?
Because it benefits the male at the expense of the woman. That's why.
How?
Unpaid labor that she's giving in terms of work, unpaid emotional labor that she's giving. She has to sacrifice herself to pour into another person. If she has children, that exacerbates the issue, because then she's not only pouring into this man whose health she has to monitor, she has to make sure he makes smart decisions that he should be. Basically, you're parenting a child. And that's the way a lot of people have described the dynamic, where the wife is overgiving to the husband and the husband is not giving equally to the wife. So she ends up depressed. She ends up stressed out. Her mental health takes a decline, because you have a person who's giving but not receiving. That's what makes it oppressive. And that is the foundation of it. And that is the reason why all of the reports are saying that men benefit more, because there's an imbalance in give and take. It's not equal. She's giving, he's taking. Nobody's pouring into her usually. And most of the time she doesn't even have time to pour into herself. So that's why.
All right. For AJM, preach marriage to non-Black men can or is beneficial, the end. All right, AJM, Sin just explained in brief just sort of the ideas around marriage and why it's oppressive and how women engage in it and all of that. Now you have something to push back against. How do you, in the face of that, say marriage is good, beneficial?
I would argue that any woman that is choosing to do those things is choosing to do those things. Marriage in and of itself doesn't say, it's not a contract that says that once I enter it, I must do all the dishes and diaper all the children and work a 9 to 5. And
that's not true. That's not true. That's not true. There's a set of roles for the wife and a set. What are you talking about?
Sin. Wait, I want to. Yes, it would be beneficial if you vet them. Not y'all talking about vet in the chat. Y'all need to stop. Wrong channel. Go ahead, AJM. I want to hear your response to Sin systemic analysis regarding marriage, and then we'll go back to Sin.
Yeah. So marriage does not, there's no legally binding thing that says you as a woman have to do all these things. You as a woman have to be the one that, women oftentimes will take on everything and then complain about taking on everything instead of just standing back and saying, no, I'm not going to take it all on. If it's only going to get done if you want it to get done. Like, we need to work together to make this happen, or it's not happening. Like, the end. And the problem is not only a lack of communications and boundaries, like setting boundaries, but also understanding that communication matters, and you need to start your relationship from a place of understanding what the expectations of a marriage are going to be. So if you're going into the marriage and you're talking through these things prior to the marriage, and that person's not holding up their end of the bargain, you can bring that up as a thing. I mean, like, just like anything else, if if you're unhappy, you need to communicate that and not just take on the burden of doing everything. But there's nothing that says legally you are, as a woman, obligated to do all of these things and take care of him in this way. There's nothing that says that you have to be the one that takes on all of the responsibility of your household and work a job and do all these. No, there's nothing. Marriage does not say that on its own. It does not say that.
So AJ,
The
Emmett said
patron
you need standard boundaries and expectations in marriage. How do you respond, Sin?
I'm saying the patriarchal system in which marriage was created says that there are roles and expectations of a husband and a wife, and the expectation is that the wife is giving free labor to the husband. So they're literally in the is marriage vows, which are preset unless the person writes their own. Does it not say the woman will love, honor, and obey her husband? Because obey is a term that's used that presents two different positions. A subservient obeys the dominant in the relationship. So if a vow is saying that the woman must love, honor, and obey her husband, then clearly it's already saying the role that you're going into is one of servitude in which you must obey this man. The expectations are already set. I don't know why you would even be dishonest as to say there's no already preset expectations, gender expectations for marriage. Like, why would you say that?
All right,
Well,
wait, before you respond, AJM, Finn's argument here, I think, because we are not on the specific topic, it's a broader one, is it sounds like you're saying instead of doing away with racism, we should operate within it, right? If this system is fundamentally, in its structure, a bad system and oppressive, working within that system seems to be a bad sort of advocacy in Finn's mind because the system itself is bad. How do you respond to that? And then I have a question for Sin too.
sure. I would say Christianity is oppressive to women because that is based off of vows from the Christian Bible. So if I am not Christian, I'm not saying those vows. That's not my life. That's not my reality. So no, yeah, I mean, like, I guess if you want to argue that Christianity is oppressive, sure, yeah, I would agree with that. But as far as
Wait, so
marriage,
is your argument here that marriage, we in some ways we should divorce marriage from the things that are oppressive, such as Christianity, and
well,
marriage.
you don't have to, but I'm just saying that, like, marriage in and of itself does not require Christianity. So I can be married without being Christian. So if I'm Christian, I get married, then that's my framework. But if I am not Christian and I'm getting married, or even if I'm Christian and I'm getting married and I just don't want to agree with those vows, I don't have to do that. Like, marriage as a legally binding document, if you're just going from like the legal standpoint of marriage, no, it's actually not oppressive. I mean, then what's to be said about same-sex marriages then? I mean, like, marriage in and of itself is not oppressive. It's what you make of your marriage and what you set up, how you set your marriage up to be, is what makes it oppressive.
Marriage is oppressive. Like, have you ever heard of the term of a woman being worthy of being a wife or being wife material? Typically, when they say that, it's a man saying that this woman is not willing to meet the expectations of servitude that they believe that marriage requires the woman to be in. So every single thing, and there's so many indicators that the expectation of marriage is that the woman come in ready to serve the man, and yet you're trying to deny it and say that it's not innately oppressive. Yes, it is. It is innately oppressive to the woman. That is why a lot of these bandits run around saying that they're not going to marry Black women, because Black women, from their perspective, are not willing to sign up to be in the submissive servitude position that a wife is supposed to. So in the minds of mostly men, who are the ones who actually control marriage, you need to be willing to sign up for servitude. That is the expectation, or they're not going to marry you. And that is very common, and it's global, regardless to your religion.
All right, there is an affirmative claim, AJ, and before I go to Sin, there is an affirmative claim being made here from you that marriage is obviously helpful in your mind. What is the system of marriage and why do you think it is helpful? What is marriage?
Marriage is legally binding a process that enables you to have access to resources in one easy step, basically. So, yes, you are able to have life insurance, you're able to set up deedship, you're able to set up child support, you're able to set up lots of different things through legal processes. But marriage makes it so that it's one stop. You don't have to, if I'm married, that checks all those boxes without me having to do any extra work to do so. And so, I mean, I can understand where Sin's coming from as far as marriage being oppressive. If you're coming at it from a religious standpoint, yes, marriage could be very oppressive for you if you are a religious person and you're going into it through a religious framework. But in and of itself, as a legal situation, no, marriage is not oppressive.
Sin, you think the system is bad, so we should just do what should happen to the system of marriage? You're muted.
So, so I'm not necessarily saying it's bad. Bad is subjective, so I couldn't 100% conclude that it's bad. Do I think it's counterproductive for Black women? Absolutely, I think it's counterproductive. And I think Black women can do one of a number of different things, the same way you would approach the system. The whole, if you can't beat them, join them. They could do that, and a lot of Black women are doing that. So you could either try to work within the system and find a way to be happy and content with it, or you can simply opt out. And I think that since Black women want it desperately and they are beggars rather than choosers, then they have to make the best with a system that they're trying to go into with a group of men who don't value that system beyond their ability to exploit the women who happily sign up for it.
All right. So, have we determined if the system, Sin said we can operate in the system even though the system is detrimental. You say the system is helpful. We are attempting now to narrow it back down to Black women, but it feels like it's still going to get broadened. The specific ways in which AJM you are saying Black women should engage to make it more beneficial for them. Do you think they can?
Do I think Black women can engage positively with marriage?
Not positively, but in the way that other races of women engage with it.
Oh yeah, I definitely think we can. Absolutely, yes. Yeah.
In mass.
In mass, I mean, it can, you know, it would, in mass requires to say, when you say en masse, then are you meaning that that's a cultural shift then? Because en masse would require the entire culture of Black women to change, like the entire culture of Black people to change. So do I believe that that can happen? Yeah, that's going to take a lot of time. I mean, if we've been operating this way for like, I don't know, hundreds of years, yeah, it's going to take time if we're, you know, but Black women, we can change. We can take steps to teach our daughters those steps after we ourselves have mastered them. But that's like, I feel like that's a different question. Like, so I do feel like Black women as individuals have the ability
It
to
is a
change.
different question. I agree with you, but if the answer to the question is no, then marriage can't. If Black women can't engage in the way that a white supremacist system would allow white women to engage in the system, then it would seem odd to then use the experience of white people engaging in marriage to say the system is good and Black women are just not able to
Well,
do.
it's not just white women though. That's the thing. It's like lots of other women from other cultures are experiencing the same benefits. So that's why I'm like, I feel like we can change. And the one common denominator that all of these different groups have is that they go into marriage with a different mindset about like hypergamy, financial obligations, expectations of their husbands. We go in, Black women are the only ones that aren't putting those sort of expectations and on our spouses, and we are suffering from that. We're also not going in legally protecting ourselves, and we're suffering that way as well. So if we did start doing those things, we would be exponentially better off than we are now.
All right.
Can I respond to that?
Yeah.
Because the mindset that overvalues marriage is not the mindset that's going to be conducive to what AJM is saying. Part of the problem with Black women's experience in marriage is the way that they think about it. And she's essentially asserting that a group of women who are desperate for marriage are going to have the emotional fortitude to set up the standards, boundaries, and expectations that necessitates having the type of union that she's talking about. And that's not the case. The bottom line is the only person who is going to do that is one who does not overvalue marriage, is one who values what she has established more so than a man that she's attaching herself to. And that's not where Black women are. Black women value the marriage more so than anything. That's why they can sit in the comment section and be delusional and try to say that a union that does not benefit them actually does benefit them. And that's because they're coming from a place of desperation. So one thing I do agree with is that Black women would have to change their mindset in order to have a different approach towards marriage. But I don't see that happening because Black women are too desperate for that. They're way too desperate. And desperation comes from a place of insecurity and inner lacking. That's where desperation comes from. So they would have to fix that first. Black women are too desperate to even to navigate a marriage in a way that's going to benefit them. Black women are too desperate for that. They're way too desperate.
But isn't that speaking more to Black women than to marriage?
What was that?
Wouldn't that be speaking more to Black women than to marriage?
No, because like I said, you can take anything that's harmful to you and get some benefits out of it. For example, drugs. Most street drugs are extremely and innately detrimental. However, the high that people get from it is what makes it seem like there is some balance even when there is not. So just like a person can do drugs or try to navigate in an oppressive system, is the same way that a woman can attempt to get benefits out of an innately oppressive institution like marriage. And they often try to. So I don't think nothing that I'm saying negates the fact that the institution of marriage is oppressive innately to women. It just means that women are value marriage enough to try to navigate that oppressive system and get benefits out of it. And it seems like more and more women are coming out and talking about how it's not worth the effort. It's just not worth it. Now, so these women are Black, but
so even if they had the standards, boundaries, and expectations, that
it's still going to be imbalanced. It's still going to be imbalanced.
Gotcha.
Because the foundation of it is innately imbalanced towards women.
So there is not a new, but a sort of resurgence of an idea that women are resources and men are trying to extract resources from women. So any kind of engagement is ultimately going to be detrimental to the woman long term. So a marriage in this way would be a man sucking resource out of a woman, maybe not financially, but in other ways. Princella would be the sort of person advocating this. Do you respond to this idea? I only named her because I didn't want it to sound like I'm stealing someone's idea, not my own. How do you respond to this, AJM?
So first, I'd like to say that I just based off of how ambitious Black women are, like we have moved the needle when it comes to graduation rates, to acquiring degrees, we've done phenomenal, extraordinary things as a group. And to say that this thing is something that we can't do. I just find that really hard to believe, only because I've seen that Black women have done incredible things that would have been said to have been impossible previously. So no, I do believe Black women are intelligent and
Right. No, the argument, sorry, is that
mhm,
Black
mhm,
women are resources, and
mhm.
marriage is an inorganic system created to further enslave women, and trap them into these domestic situation where they are feeding, they are supply of resource feeding the man. And so that framework makes marriage in all its ways detrimental to women generally. Um, do
Oh,
you?
well, again, I mean, that, like saying, again, I feel like we are adults and at the point where we are choosing, because again, marriage in and of itself does not say we have to do these things. There's nothing that in the actual act of being married, there's nothing that we sign that says we have to be slaves to our husbands. There's nothing that we, if you are making a choice to do that, then that is a choice you are making, and that is a dynamic that you've worked out with your spouse, and that you
No,
know.
the argument is that it is there's something inherently um, destructive to the woman in the engagement with the man, and a marriage is just the legal framework by which men can extract value from women, access to women, control over women.
I would disagree. I mean, you, that's possible, but again, if you are an adult with agency, you can prevent that from happening. Like, there's no reason why you have to do this. Like, there's nothing that says that you have to be this person, that you have to allow this to happen within. Now, if you're saying that,
The way you said allow is sorry.
Yeah,
Wait, wait.
this is as the same logic as saying just because there's no laws that says that gives white people a right to discriminate, so therefore they're not discriminating. It's like that's the same logic as saying that. Nothing that you're saying really matters. It's still innately disenfranchising women, and there is something that says that the marriage expectations that are gender based, that are based on religion and based on patriarchy, says that the women is going into it from a place of servitude, and women know that the expectation is for them to go in and serve the man. They know that. That's why women will be like, I cook, I clean, I'll submit, I'll bring your bath water, I'll make your dinner, I'll do the laundry. They know that all of these are expectations of a wife. What are you talking about? Now the discussion is getting disingenuous because you're
but
acting like you
Wait, wait,
know
wait,
that
wait,
there is a
but
set of
at the point
expectations
then,
for wives. So what are you
but at
wait,
the
wait,
point where she's
wait.
doing that, then she's making that decision. If you're saying she has that expectation, that's her making
so
the decision.
the man that she's marrying doesn't have that expectation. She's just
He may
pulling it
not.
out the air.
He may
No,
not.
they
At the
do.
point
But
where
they
she,
do. But we
at
know
the
they
point where the
do.
woman is
But we
choosing to
know
do
they
it,
do. No, she's not.
but
She's
even
she's
she
doing it.
is.
She's doing it because it is the expectation of her as a wife to
Is
a
she
Wait,
husband.
wait,
sure?
wait,
So
wait, wait,
that's why
wait,
she's
wait,
doing it. It's
wait,
expected to her by
wait,
the
wait,
man she's married.
wait. So let's do this. There is an expectation, it seems. Can we agree to that? The question is, whose expectation is it, and who is
Us.
putting this out there?
The
Um,
husband.
so
It's the
No.
husband's expectation. The
Not
husband's
entirely.
expectation is that the wife is going to enter the marriage and serve him and be a
Well,
subordinate to him and submit to him and cook and clean and take care of the kids and cater to him. That
okay,
is the man's expectation of the wife in a marriage.
so are there men who don't have these expectations?
I mean, I would assume so, but to me, it seems like that's the expectation that they all have, unless they're not marrying women.
there are men who don't have that expectation, and there are women who don't have that expectation, and they
But
work.
but we can agree that the vast majority do. But we can agree that the vast majority do, and
But at
that
the
the
point
ones who
where the
don't are
woman
outliers.
has that
I
expectation,
was asking I was asking a question. Can we agree that historically and presently the majority of people globally have had that expectation and that most of them today still do?
Oh yeah, but I'm saying she's not oppressed if she has this expectation of herself.
That
If you're
doesn't mean that
if
she's
you
not
are
oppressed. The people on the
it
plantation had
does.
the
If
expectation that each
you
morning they're going to get up and engage in free labor and get beaten and essayed. They had that
They do not
expectation.
have a choice though. At the point where you're marrying, you're choosing this. You're choosing this life. If you're choosing to marry
The
with the
question is, do the
expectation,
women think they have a choice? Do the women think that they have a choice? Do
but
black women think,
Wait,
hold
all
on,
right.
do black
So
women think that if they don't enter a marriage and be a servant to the man, cook for him, clean for him, wash his clothes, do they think a man is going to marry them? You can look at what black women are doing to conclude that they think that they have to do those things in order to be a wife. That is what they think they have to do. This is why you have black women setting up wife schools to teach these women to be able to meet the expectations of being a wife. And the
all right.
fact that you sit here and act like that's not the case is really disingenuous. Just say that you think that marriage is helpful to black women, but you just can't prove it.
But
Like,
this is important. AJM was trying to get this out, and I kind of hear it. There is a choice element here, and to sidestep the choice element, obviously there are societal pressures, but her position here is that women have a choice to be married, and if you're engaging in marry wanting to be submissive, the submissive queen, then you're taking on that role where you could choose to have standard boundaries and expectations when you get into marriages and not be subservient.
yes.
yeah, but then that would then her rebuttal to that wouldn't be an effective one, because just like a woman can choose to not be in marriage, a person can choose to toe tag themselves and not be a slave. So you could say the same thing. Slaves did have a choice. They could have chose self toe tagging. There's always a choice. It's just about whether the choice is more beneficial than what you're going into. So
But
yeah, you can say
slavery
that,
is
but
a
it's going to
wild.
negate your rebuttal.
But
I mean,
wouldn't
like
that?
slavery was
Oh,
a
sorry. Go
very
ahead.
extreme,
It doesn't matter how extreme it is. If there is a
it
way
does.
that a person can opt out of it, it's still a choice, is it not? It's only a choice if
When
you
you
don't
are
have a way to opt out.
if your
Lady, it's
choices are
only a
death,
choice. It doesn't matter what the choice is.
death
It
or
doesn't matter
not,
what the choice
I
is.
mean,
You have a choice to
you have
opt
to
out. Your
get a
your
divorce.
argument is that a woman has the option to opt out of marriage if she does not want to meet the expectations. You use slavery and said that slaves didn't have a choice. I'm
It's not
saying
even
that they
opting out of
did. I'm
marriage. I'm
saying that
saying
they
she didn't
did.
have
I'm
a choice.
saying that they could have
Wait, wait,
chose
wait,
to
wait.
self
You can
toe
get
tag,
married.
Wait,
and that's how
AJM,
they could have got out of it.
AJM, wait 1 second. But
Mhm.
then it feels like you're saying, because the kind of choice matters, right? So if you're saying that slaves had a choice to unalive themselves or also to be or to be enslaved, that is a choice. Agreed. The next step, then, the next logical step is a choice between what? And you just said that, well, depending on what the better choice is. But your argument hinges on that being single is better than being married because of the benefits for single women. If that is the case, then the choice seemed to be one that is supposed to be obvious, that people in marriages aren't happy and people outside of marriages are. So
But
if you're
that's not her argument though, Themis. Her
no,
argument is actually that married women are happier
no,
than
no, no.
single women. So the unfair choice will be, according to her perspective, the unfair choice would be to opt out of marriage
Oh yeah,
completely.
no, she can't make
No,
this
no.
argument. Wait, no, 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 she can't make this argument. This is why I'm asking it, because it seems that um, th- th- it, it seems circular that it seems circular then to say they have that choice, but they are not going to choose to be single, which is a better choice in your mind. Does
Yeah,
that
they,
make
they do have that choice, and I'm saying they should choose to be single over married. I am saying that they should choose to be single over married.
yeah,
I'm
so
absolutely saying they
then
should.
that would be a better choice in your mind, and there people are choosing to be married, so they should choose if they're going to be married to have these standard boundaries expectations in the marriage because they have a point of like they can refuse the marriage because they have alternative.
I'm saying that if they're a black woman, they shouldn't get married at all unless they're finding a different group of men to marry. That's what I'm saying. You shouldn't get married at all unless you're finding a different group of men to get married to. But we already know, like I said, with the current, what's currently going on is that black women do want to get married and they want to get married to black men. And I'm saying you better off single. And they're saying that, oh, she promoting baby mamaism. You have to be dumb to think that if somebody's telling you to not get married, then they're automatically telling you to be a single mother. Not all married couples even have children. So like, how is the two being, I'm not understanding how the two are being connected. Don't get married and be a single mother. Like, bridge the gap. Somebody.
I would ignore the chat except for the ones put on the screen to be read. Are same-sex marriage oppressive or disenfranchising? Same-sex marriage is not a part of the discussion, but good question, good observation. What about business partnership? I think the point is like the idea of taking the last name ownership kind of thing. Are core corporations and LLC oppressive when there is merger? Yeah, they can be. I think you know this. They can be. Some of these mergers aren't mergers; they're takeovers. Like you're literally going in to take over a company. So we are almost out of time. So I wanted you guys to. I don't know if you guys want to do closing statements because like there's not going to be a winner. Because
I can't do a closing statement. I gotta go start my live stream.
Oh, yeah. Wait, what time are you going live?
I was supposed to go live at 2:30. So, but it's not your fault. I'm finishing getting ready because I was sitting down. I was contemplating if I was going to still go live. And then I wasn't really getting ready to.
I need something to watch. Please go live.
Yeah, I am gonna go live and just talk about some gossip stuff. But my conclusion would just be that currently marriage does not benefit black women. It's not helpful to them, and AJM has not proven with any form of evidence that it is. She simply proved that it could be, which we do agree that it could be if black women change some things, which they don't seem willing to do. But at the end of the day, it's not helpful to black women. But that being said,
was that me?
What happened?
Finn, you cut out. With that,
did I?
Yeah, we are here.
Oh, okay. I'll say it again. With that being said, if there is a black woman who thinks that her her marriage is going to be the exception to the rule, then I think that she should get married. Absolutely. Then go get married. You're more likely to become a statistic than the exception, but hey, you can think what you want to, right?
Yeah. By the way, the reason it's fine to get heated or whatever, even though we want good exchange, is because AJM automatically moves on to the next round because the person she's supposed to debate didn't come up. So I actually really do appreciate you, Finn. I actually really appreciate you so much, though, for coming up, because this was going to probably be a boring live. So you came in and I appreciated it.
I should get 2 wins for debating Sin because this is not easy.
Why? I'm not even a hard person to debate. I just like to stick to what we're debating. If we're debating present tense and is it, which is present tense, then I just don't expect to be met with a bunch of hypotheticals. But that's all.
So
go ahead.
Okay. So I think Sin did concede my point, though, that black women should marry outside. They should look at marrying outside of the black community because they can have beneficial marriages. They can have marriage can be healthy for black women. We just need to reevaluate the way we look at marriage and the way we engage with marriage. We should not be wanting to be slaves within our marriages. We should not be wanting to have a non-egalitarian marriage. If you want that, that's your life. I'm not here to, but just don't complain about it if that's not what you want, that you go in asking for that and get it. But I do believe that black women can have excellent marriages. We just need to change the way that we're approaching marriage and the way we're looking at marriage, and the way we're thinking about our spouses and how we're legally protecting ourselves before we engage in marriage, just like we would with any other business venture. Black women are killing it in businesses right now. So there's no reason why we can't logically also follow that same like mental framework with when approaching marriage.
Thank you. Let's can we go read the super chats quickly before you guys go? So if there's anything anyone want us to respond to, we can. There's like not a lot, so we were trying to do them as we go. Even if black women marry outside of their race, doesn't guarantee you would have a good husband or father. True. Religious marriage is not oppressive for women. Girl.
That's John the Baptist. Yes.
Again, religious marriage is actually beneficial for women, safety, health. Girl, you try. Period. Sin is, let me not, because absolutely not. A stay-at-home spouse isn't even considered a job when men do it. If marriage is so oppressive, switch roles. You work, pay bills. He cooks and clean.
I mean, aren't black women doing all of the above already? Working, paying the bills, cooking and cleaning, taking care of the children. It's like black women are already doing that.
But there's people they're going to be doing that anyway, regardless. So I mean, I guess.
The second shift is a real theory. I think wife school teaches black women how to propose to a king and how to saddle a full grown male.
Don't go to wife school, guys. Don't do that. Don't do that.
I'm curious, what is the social value of marriage for black women? What does it signify? And why do we need a system that is politically unnecessary? So when you say the social value, there is tremendous amount of value socially for marriage. I think both Finn and AJM would agree. This is why people brag about it. There's a currency there. The question is, should there be? Because people brag at marriages where their man is another man's boyfriend. Look, I didn't make the rules. I'm just telling.
and look, that sounds harsh and it sounds disrespectful, but the truth is, in the black community, your husband is somebody else's boyfriend, and it might be, and your husband could be a boyfriend to a man in the black community. It's so bad. It's so bad in the black community.
White men deconstructing benefits post-divorce. White men deconstructing benefits post-divorce. Coach, I don't fully understand this. My brain is probably not working because my twists are too tight. So I apologize, Koja. By the way, I miss you. Welcome back. If it would be nice if Sin allowed someone to finish speaking before she speaks. Come on, common courtesy. I think we were all kind of interrupting in the beginning, and then Sin, and then me, and then so yeah. Women that
I did zero interrupting in the beginning. I started interrupting because I kept getting interrupted. Just a lot of y'all just got a bias.
Well, I interrupted you twice and I stopped, but then you did keep interrupting me the entire rest of the time. So, but I didn't say anything.
I interrupted you twice, actually. That's how many times I actually interrupted you twice. I was actually counting because I was being petty.
Not you being petty intentionally. See, women that opt out are shamed and men are coming undone. Yeah. Yes, that is true. And I'm very curious as to this new move. Let me hurry up and read. My bad. AJM pardoned black women because they were raised to engage a certain way with black men, but it's not registering that women are raised to engage a certain way in marriage. Yeah, I mean, you all do have to understand it is a debate. And so there are certain things. This is not AJM's position. I think this is mostly Sin's position, but like she went and did research because I assigned positions to this. So you guys please give the debaters grace. Sin just came up and she didn't even prepare for this. So like very well done for both parties. It's not your position and Sin just came up. So like period. Women underreport abuse and dissatisfaction. Yep. You argue for cohabitation equals single mother. I don't think there was an argue for cohabitation necessarily. It was a comparison being made between marriage and cohabitation and the outcome for children. It's not that. Oh, sorry.
But do you see, Theme, is why I say some of these responses are coming from a remedial mindset? I literally
No.
never told anybody to have any dynamic. I said two cohabiting parents have the same outcome on the child as being in a home where the people are married. That's what I said. I didn't advocate for cohabitation. I said it produces the same outcome to children.
Yeah. And I think, yeah, please give people grace and give their arguments. Actually, no, I'm not going to say that because I think people are. So I saw a bunch of men that I've never seen over here dragging. So I'm just going to ignore their comments because absolutely not. I'm not about to engage with that. Both have great points, just different perspective. Thank you. Honestly, it feels like AJM is moving the gold post on what marriage traditionally is and has been for women of all races. I think that's the bigger goal by the anyway. That's the bigger issue I think that we were trying to argue after we broaden it from just the black community. She provided no evidence for cohabitation when children are involved. I think she did. Yeah.
I did.
I said when I first came on here, and I do know that new people come in the room, but I had already said I did a whole entire live stream on marriage. It's still up on my channel. I provided, like, literally shared the screen to show all of the stats, data, and receipts. So I'm not going to come here on an impromptu debate when I'm sitting at a restaurant. Where do you expect me to pull these stats from when I'm not even at home? And I already said you can just go watch my video that I did on marriage, on black marriages. I already did one.
Watch it back. You were siding when you were explaining your position. You didn't side.
Oh yeah, because I had just Googled that the part about single women being married, being happier. I had Googled that while I was driving. I was stopped at a red light and Googled that. So that's why I did that one.
AJM is the definition of unbothered. Hashtag AJA1. I come in peace. If Christian marriage was good for women, why does it say a man who finds a wife finds a good thing? It doesn't say that for women. Fine. I think both women actually on the screen would say Christian marriages are oppressive.
I would venture to say Christianity is oppressive.
No, that's not my religion. I'm not going to argue with you about my religion that I'm trying to be a la carte in. When a woman chooses to opt out of being a slave, that's typically when the inevitable divorce happens. I really like you're here in this picture, the sovereign woman.
Cute.
It's
pretty.
It's definitely giving.
Mm-hmm.
And
the last one too, it's everything. Yeah, so I was like, ooh, okay, girl.
My man, get over it.
Can I ask a question though? Because I just didn't understand the part of AJM of you saying there are no expectations of a wife in a marriage. Like, I'm still just not understanding why that would be said.
As far as
clearly expectations that come mostly only for the woman. I'm actually trying to figure out what's the expectation of a husband beyond a breadwinner. And most of them ain't even doing that. So, I mean, all of the expectation is on women, really. There's hardly any on males. Like, can y'all right off the top of but AJM, can you off the top of your head think of one expectation of a husband in a marriage beyond being the breadwinner?
Being a good father.
That's not an expectation of me in a marriage. That's not.
It should be. It's supposed to be. Also protecting the household. He's supposed to be the one that's.
Yeah, protector and provider, right? To me, those, but that's a basic for any man, even outside of a marriage. In a relationship, they expect men to be providers and protectors. But I say that to say, if there isn't really any expectation on the husband beyond being the provider and a protector, you can just look at the roles and the expectation of those roles to see the imbalance. Most of the expectation is on the woman. She is coming in and she's going to be doing everything, not just for these kids, but also for this man, because the expectation isn't for him to do anything.
Yeah, I would say if you're going into your marriage with no expectations of your husband, your marriage is doomed to fail already. So that's, expectations should be whatever the couple decides before getting married. And I think
But
that's
there aren't any. There aren't any for the man, though. That's what I'm saying. There aren't really any
whatever you create. Like, your expectations are what you expect
people
of him.
aren't creating. People aren't creating their own set of expectations. They're going after a already preset.
Many people are setting up their own expectations.
No, they're not. No, they're not. Just opting. No, they're just opting to not get married because they understand the expectations of women that is innately built into marriage.
There are plenty of people who have the husband has the expectation to stay home to care for the kids. There's plenty of people who have set up their own expectations for what their marriage will be.
But most of them don't. But most of them are. Most of them are going by the preset expectations. They're going by the ones that are already preset. But
if you're okay with preset, then that's fine. But if you're not,
most people are okay with preset. Most people are okay with preset expectations. That's why I'm saying women have even bought into marriage and chased marriage more than men, even though it's in balance and it barely even benefits women. But yet women are the main chasers of marriage. Men are the ones who look at marriage that benefits them the most as a ball and chain, somebody taking away from their freedom, even though it benefits them. So society has done a very good job of getting the non-beneficiaries to buy into a system that oppresses them more than the ones that it benefits. But I'll say this to the person in the comments who said that the problem isn't men, the problem is marriage. Men are literally the creators of the institution of marriage. You should probably do some research on the history and the origins of marriage. Men are the creators of marriage. So if you think that men are the ones who are problematic and men created marriage, then that's perhaps why marriage is so problematic and non-beneficial to women, because it was created by men.
Aren't some women expected to wash a man's crusty feet at the altar? Oh God, I y'all play too much. Thank you both. Sin, I'm actually on your live waiting for me.
I'm about to go over there now. I'm going over there now.
Wait, thank you so much, Sin, by the way. I appreciate it. That AJM, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I actually did not expect for this to go on. So like the pleasant surprise caught me really off guard. So I appreciate it. Chris has been a member for 12 months, a year.
That's my Chris, right? That's my Chris?
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
I hope so.
Somebody that is a man that has expectations and he's cool with it.
Period. Period. Come through. Thank you all. If you're a moderator, we do have a meeting. It will be like literally like 5 minutes. So the link that I sent last week is reoccurring. So just go back to that email and click the link. That is what we're doing. We're going to go in there and talk. Thank you again, AJM. You are the only person thus far in the debate who know you have already advanced because of the rules we set. So thank you. Have a wonderful
Thanks,
day.
everyone. Thanks, Sin. I'll watch her live in a minute.
Bye. Wait, don't leave it. Let me end it. The Sovereign Woman, thanks, Themis. I'm honored. Oh, no, I'm honored you are here giving us that crown. Period. Let me do an after show quickly. So quickly, how was that for you?
It was a little rough, only because I felt like kind of attacked. You know what I mean? I was just like, well, hey, I'm like, this isn't my personal point of view. I'm just doing the prompt. I mean, dang. And then kind of like, the ripping up of the prompt. I'm like, well, I mean,
yeah, no, that's
work with. I mean, I don't know.
That's fine. If you're here, I'm gonna try to do a breakdown because I'm trying to do a breakdown of the debates after the debates happen. And we can talk about it. I don't know when, but I'll hopefully Sin will be here. We won't watch it. We'll just talk generally about it. Um, and have the panel open at the time because I think people in the audience wanted to be able to come up. So I've been doing that, so I'm gonna continue to do it.
Okay. Yeah.
I think AJM did so well in the last debate. I made it a point to be here today and was not disappointed. Thank you both. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. And for everyone who have been ignoring regarding my hair, I'm ignoring regarding my hair because the lady who did my twist decided that she wanted to tie things at the root of my hair so they wouldn't move. And like I literally can't move my face. I've never
No.
had this done. I only did it to go to like Beyonce thing because like I have a whole outfit planning planned.
Did you? Oh, you didn't go to Beyonce yet?
Yeah, no, I'm going. I'm going.
Okay, I'll wait to talk. We can discuss because
Yeah.
I have thoughts.
I well, hopefully I will have thoughts, but this was not what I said this is not what I meant. She blowed my I've never had that much heat on my hair and she stretched my hair and like it was like down here and I didn't know it was that long because it shrank or whatever. And so it was down here and then she twisted but she tied the end
So do you
like
just have
right
it back
here.
in a ponytail?
Yeah, cuz it hurts like everything hurts.
No.
Um
Okay.
But people say it looks good and they say pretty hurt, so I'm always in pain again. But
Good. It does look good. I mean, it looks very good. It looks good. You'll have to take it down before the end just so we can take a look. Or if it hurts too much, don't do it. Don't do it.
I'm not touching that. I'm going to bed with a do rag, waking like this is going to be it, and then I'm removing it on when I come back from Beyonce. So I might get it twisted again, but smaller, because I didn't know my hair was this long. So no.
We want to see you like, you know, bouncing and behaving. I want to see it.
Anyway, thank you again. I really appreciate you taking so much time out of your day and preparing and being here. And I'm glad we had something to do. Because yeah, this was fun.
Yes,
See you next round.
okay, bye. Thanks,
Bye.
everyone. Bye bye.